Assalamu alaikum. Today we have the second question about in chapter number 2, talking about how do ESL teacher provide opportunities for students to communicate in English. In your opinion, I want to ask you one question. In your opinion, how can you make your students communicate in English? What are the main idea in your mind if someone asks you, you should give your student opportunities to speak in English? What are the main ideas in your mind? Okay, the main idea you should bring in your mind is that how to make students to communicate inside the classroom. You should give them activities. You should give them activities. You should give them duties, tasks. Okay, these are the word activities. The important is very important word. Okay, so we should explain this section in order to follow the main ideas. How do ESL teachers provide opportunities for students to communicate in English? Some ESL classes are taught in a teacher-centered fashion. If you remember of Yoshi's class follow the teacher-centered fashion. Okay. Interaction is dominated by the teacher who, for example, give lengthy explanations and lectures, drills repetitively, ask the majority of the questions, and make judgments about the students' answers. However, to provide chances for the students to gain communicative competence, other ESL teacher see value in getting the student involved in interacting in English, and in this section based on the framework provided by Littlewood. So we have today the one of studies or framework provided by Littlewood. Littlewood is the author who make many studies about how to teaching English in ESL teaching English. Okay, about helping the teacher how to deal with the classroom, how to teaching our students. Okay. Some teachers who aim at having a communicative classroom begin lessons with the Littlewood calls pre-communicative activities. So this term is new. It's called pre-communicative activities. Use primarily with the beginning and intermediate level students. So this pre-activity, or what we call the pre-communicative activity, using with the students in beginning and intermediate level. Pre-communicative activities allow the teacher to isolate specific elements of knowledge or skill that compose communicative ability, giving the students opportunities to practice them without having to fully engage in communicating meaning. Littlewood discusses two types of pre-communicative activities. We have two types of pre-communicative activities. The first one is structural, and the second one is quasi-communicative. So we have in the first one is structural activities, focus on grammar and lexical vocabulary of English, while the second one is focus on what? Quasi-communicative activities, focus on how the language is used to communicate meaning. Quasi activities, or what we call it quasi-communicative activities, are often in the form of dialogues or relatively simple activities in which the student interact under highly controlled conditions. So we have two activities what's mentioned by Littlewood: the pre-communicative activities. The first one structural and the second one quasi-communicative. And structural activities focus on grammar and lexical, okay, and the second one quasi-communicative activities focus on the forms of dialogue. Okay, if you go to the other page, on page 66, you will find illustrations of these two types of pre-communicative activities in beginning level. Class 1, observed by Hungary, are provided. The teacher's goal was to teach the student how to ask about food likes and dislikes. So we have example about how to teacher use the topic about food like and dislike, and here we have a statement and questions using the vocabulary build activities. Okay, in this classroom type of classroom, the teacher use the topic food and ask the student if they are like or dislike food. Okay, and in this class they depend on illustrate the two types of pre-communicative activities. The first one is depend on the yes no question about asking about the vocabulary building activity, and also we have the first one is depend on activity communicative activities. The teacher give the student sample a pre-communicative activity handout below handout. Okay, and the teacher held up picture, and the student should be match the picture with the words or phrases, okay, if they like or dislike the food. The teacher then handed out a dialogue sorry and combined grammatical and vocabulary item, added a little new language. Here we have the teacher read the dialogue out loud, a loud voice, and ask the student to repeat it after her, and ask students to practice it in pairs. Then the next step is the teacher did another quizzy communicative activities by dividing the student into pairs and placing a set of picture of different food. The whole activity is depending on how to make the food like or dislike between the students, but in different activities, in communicative activities, okay, to make them the student to talk in English, to use language and to talk in English language. So we have here if you are teaching students beyond a basic level, this is suitable for beginner at the beginner and intermediate level, as I mentioned in a previous lesson, okay, at the beginning of the lesson. Okay, this give them the student picture and the matching between picture and the words. This is a kind of activities suitable for beginner level, for intermediate level. But if you are teaching student beyond a basic level, it is okay to skip the pre-communicative activities. If we begin with the communicative activities, the student can begin with a task such as writing and producing their own play, giving oral and written presentations on topics they reached through interviewing and library research and solving problems in small groups. As students work on these tasks, their attention will sometimes shift to language use. For example, they may ask the meaning of a word, on how to express an idea. About the trust of the lesson is for students to communicate with the teacher and each other in meaningful ways. So we have different activities used for the beginner level or intermediate level, like this picture, using picture with the matching pictures with the what we have done here, the teacher. Or if we have the levels of the student beyond the basic level, it is okay to skim this pre-communication activities, okay, in order to make what we call another suitable activity suitable for their level, like what we call it writing and producing their own play, giving them oral and written presentations, for example, topic, and interviewing, literal library research, giving them homework about how to make library research, and to make or another activities and communicative activities, solving a problem. So we have many activities in order to deal with the student. Thank you for your listening.